Just like everybody else, of course, LSU is losing spring practice and hoping to get back on the field, as we're all looking forward to seeing some football starting on the practice field in August. We got Lon Philip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey to help us talk Tigers, and a big commitment coming in over the last several days, and a few out there for 2021. Lon, how you doing tonight?
Hey, we're just rocking in the free world, Mark. How about you?
We're doing good. We're doing fine, considering there are some folks out there not doing nearly as well. So keeping the faith here and staying safe. All right, JABRIL COX, pretty good football player, linebacker, put in his work at South Dakota State, originally out of Kansas City. Good enough to play in the SEC, apparently.
Yeah, that'll be the question. He was unbelievable at North Dakota State. He would have been a Division I player for the last few years had he not torn his ACL as a junior in high school. That just drove away a lot of the recruiters who were going after him. And so he kind of went over to North Dakota State University, won 3 national championships, was freshman of the year as well as player of the year in that freshman season. Had 2 pick sixes, 4, I think it was 7 interceptions total, 258 tackles. The guy was a beast. He showed a lot of playmaking ability that was just special, and I think that's the LSU quality. And Bo Pelini evidently feels he has the qualities to play in the SEC. Will he be middle linebacker? Will he be a outside linebacker? That's the question. Will he? There were a few plays where he didn't show enough capability to shed blocks that were a little troubling. And with this offseason being a non-contact offseason, that could be worrisome. But as an LSU fan, you've got to love these options. I mean, we've got more weapons here than a David Koresh swap meet. I mean, you got Damone Clark. You've got Ray Thornton. You got an unbelievable amount of guys in there. You even got Devontae Lee coming over from receiver. There's a lot of special specimen coming in here at LSU at linebacker, and we'll see what happens.
Talking LSU Cox, football? Go ahead, Lon.
Oh. We'll just see what happens. I mean, JABRIL COX, he'll have to toughen up a bit. We'll see what happens, because this is a non-contact off season, and that you'll see a lot of players getting a lot of time, I think, as coaches just need at a necessity to get players in there to get them contact from the lack of practices that we're going to be seeing. I think you'll be seeing a lot of rotations. Maybe JABRIL COX won't be his standout season this season. It could come next year. But we all have a lot of high hopes for the young man and expect a lot of great things.
We've got Lon Philip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey to talk up the Tigers, and JABRIL COX in the fold from South Dakota State. A couple other 2021 prospects that have committed recently by way of Michigan. I got to say, Lon, when I looked these guys up, I was not expecting to see the state of Michigan. So we're talking about the number 5 rated player in the state, an offensive tackle in Garrett Dellinger, and the 3rd rated player in the state, the 2nd rated guard in the country, and Rocco Spindler. Michigan.
Yes. James Craig has been going up there and trying to get those 2 guys. They're teammates from Clarkston High. He's been trying to get them for quite some time. I think it's been since May 2019 that he's been going after them. Some of them have already participated in visits. I think one of them took a visit here already before this whole thing, and it's been interesting. James Craig he's been called by Lloyd Cushenberry the hardest working coach in the building, and he's living up to that by his just nonstop recruiting in Michigan. And if he can pull off these 2 guys from the clutches of the Notre Dames, the Michigans of the world, and what have you, that would be fantastic. And it would be a huge get for LSU's offensive line depth. We're really needing these guys. When one is a tackle, one's a guard, it would fit the needs perfectly.
So both play at the same high school in Clarkston, Michigan. And if Michigan can't hang on to the best players in a state that's not talent rich, it's a decent state for high school football, but it's nothing close to Louisiana. If they can't keep their own players in state, that's obviously another topic, but that's an issue for the Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh, because, again, the numbers on these guys, Garrett Dellinger, 12th rated offensive tackle in the country, number 5 rated player in Michigan, the 77th rated player, regardless of position. Yeah. So for those of you who don't follow recruiting, when you talk about 10 or 11 positions and you're only down to number 77 overall, if you grab top 100 players, the elite get most of those players, as obviously LSU is. Rocco Spindler, number 3 rated player in the state, number 2 guard in the country, 49th rated player in the country, regardless of position. So you got a couple top 75 type players out of Michigan, possibly in that 2021 class.
And then joining them is Landon Jackson from, I think it's Pleasant High or something like that in Texas. This guy he's an absolute freak. I mean, this guy is a freight train of hate pain. I mean, he's an absolute deliverer of evil upon offensive linemen. I mean, Landon Jackson, just look him up. This guy, he looks like the Predator when you look at him. I mean, you just get chills up and down your spine. The best thing is he's already taken a visit to LSU, but the other big competitor for this guy, Landon Jackson, is Texas A&M. But the one visit he came to Baton Rouge for was when we walloped A&M 50-7 on senior night, and he was there. So if a decision has to be made at some point, I really think that will inform a lot of those decisions.
Yeah, you would think that there might be a pretty lasting impression on a kid standing on the sideline watching a school that he's considering get walloped 50-7 and think, yeah, I would like to make a difference, but I don't know if I can make that kind of difference. Do I really want to get my brains beat out for the next 4 years by those guys?
Yeah, and that was Joe Burrow. We a lot of people are going to say, yeah, LSU will have a drop off of this and that. I don't think so. I think even if Miles Brennan was half as good as Joe Burrow, the pain is still coming A&M every year.
So it's Landon Jackson. He's, as you mentioned, out of Texarkana, Texas, high school, Pleasant Grove, 4th rated weak side defensive end in the country, number 19 player out of Texas, regardless of position, top 100 type player, 109, according to the 247 Sports Composite. Texas A&M is fighting for his services as well. And, of course, National Signing Day coming up in December. And then the second go-around comes next February. So we're just about 5 months away. Well, no. We're just about 8 months away from that first National Signing Day. Shop Amazon. Use the link in the description section below. You help us build the channel. We got Lon Phillips Sullivan on the line talking LSU football. And everyone's having to, well, what are you bragging about there? Number 7. Is that Patrick Peterson? Number 7.
This is actually Tyrann Mathieu jersey I got on.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yes.
Looking good.
Well, thank you.
Looking good.
I wish it was a Jamar Chase one because he's the new number 7. I think it'll fit him well.
Is there a reason he went to 7? Is there some type of standing tradition?
He wanted that. He wanted that responsibility. The tradition's been in there for a long time. I think it started with Peterson. It may have come before him, but I think he started it. And it has the same significance as number 18. I think there's a little tiny bit of a difference, but to me, 18 is more about the selfless team first, and number 7 is just you're a pure out team first, but also there's kind of like the special playmaker quality to it, I feel. And Jamar Chase, he wanted it, he demanded it, he asked for it, and they gave it to him, and he deserves it.
So according to this article, since 2007, let's see, as you mentioned, the history of LSU's prestigious number 18 we know about. So the number 7, this is going back to 2007. The newest number 7 at that point was DJ Chark. Inherited the honor from former running back Leonard Fournette, of course, who left LSU as one of the best backs in school history. trying to really trace where this started.
I believe it was with Peterson. I believe Patrick Peterson
But
started.
why? What are we honoring here? The honor of wearing the number 7 at LSU football is a tradition unlike many others for the historic program. It's an honor given to a member of each team that exemplifies the stellar careers of those who wore the number with pride that came before them. Well, I know that's the case.
Mhm.
That's the case with anybody who gets to wear a certain particular jersey number, but why? Because
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson was that good?
I think it was a Patrick Peterson, a friend thing. I think that's the first thing. First person he handed it to was kind of the next in line. Here you go, buddy. Here's this number 7, and it's just become another tradition, and it's just become another thing that has had huge significance. I mean, you could ask the same questions about number 18. Why would that have significance? But number 7, it just takes its place as well, right in line.
But as I understand, number 18, and I'll probably not phrase this correctly, has to do with this guy's either a leader or he's gritty or most improved, or there's some type of angle or slant to it.
I think number 7 is totally about just your career as a playmaker, what you've meant to LSU. You could be the best player here on the field every time you walk on the field. You're a top dog. That type of grittiness because of the people who've worn it before. It just every time there's a new participant in the number 7 handing down, it seems like it adds a little more reverence to it, a little more significance. You've had, Delpit had it last time. He adds that aggression, that same, and he played with that level because of Tyrann Mathieu before him. It had the significance, because Tyrann Mathieu was not only his favorite player, but now he gets to wear that number as well. It's not retired. It's something that is going to always be passed down because the tradition. I believe my own take on it is, we're not going to retire these numbers because of their significance. We're going to say, hey, now it's your turn. Take my jersey and you go do what I did, but maybe you'll do it differently, but you go do what I did and you repeat that, baby.
Well, Lon, I would like to see Jamar Chase wearing the number 7 and playing football in 2020. We all just want to see all these guys playing football in 2020, and we'd like to see LSU line up against Texas in week 2 after the Texas-San Antonio game. Of course, I'm not discounting that one in week 1. So 2020 football is the goal for all of us, regardless of who we root for. Based on what you've been able to gather, how is Ed Ogeron taking care of the troops from a distance, and how are they preparing themselves for August?
Well, with the limited time they've been given, they've actually been able to get a lot done. Tommy Moffitt, the strength and conditioning coach, he's been providing detailed plans for them. He's worked with the position coaches to get those detailed plans so that they can work on specific things they need. You got 3 days of running. You got 2 days of lifting. You got 1 day where miscellaneous. You got 1 day of rest, and they're really working them hard. And they're trying to keep tabs, and it's really going to show how motivated this team actually is really when the season finally happens, which it will. But they're going to have to do it themselves. They don't have the coaches there to watch them and crack the whip. This is on the players. And that's why you might see the core players for each team kind of all over the college landscape be kind of trusted at first, because it's not just we don't know these freshmen. It's we haven't even seen them really tackling or on a field for, maybe 4 or 5 months at the end of this. And there's concerns there. And that might, lead to others being trusted more. But Coach Orgeron, I think he's been keeping in contact with them as much as he can. He hasn't been just recruiting everywhere. He's got those guys, he's got certain recruiting coordinators. He's got the support staff. He's got all the places, the pieces in place to be able to manage the players. But it's really on them right now. It's really on the players to do the work, put it in, stay at home, stay safe. We're not going to have college football unless we all follow the Coach Orgeron game plan, which echoes many other people, scientists, everyone who is credible on this issue. We got to stay at home. We got to keep our distance. or we're not going to have certain things, because this is an invisible threat. And if you don't take it seriously, you're going to be the one who might suffer from that, or you might pass it on to people who are going to suffer from it. We can't have that. We want football back. We want concerts back. We've had enough of this. Let's stay home. We're in the era. We're in a beautiful technological era where we can do that. We can have food delivered. Let's stay home, if especially if you can, and let's just do this. Let's get through this.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom right there. Stay safe. Stay home. Be wise. Certainly don't panic or be full of fear. No reason to do that, but do the right things, not just for yourself, but for the rest of your family, for your neighbors, for people across the nation and across the world. As you never know what a stupid move by one particular individual, the domino effect can cross state lines and country lines as well. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Ed Ogeron, in dealing with his team and trying to prepare them from a distance for the 2020 season, has a bit more time on his hands. I was going to say, Lon, because as I understand, divorced from his wife just in the last few days of 23 years. As we look at the 2020 season here, would defensive line be the position that you're the most concerned about, or maybe just the position that's in the most flux right now?
I see a lot of options there. I mean, I see a lot of depth there. We did turn TK McClendon from tight end to defensive end to kind of shore up some of that depth. But he was just supposed to be another body. We didn't expect him to perform so well in the few spring practices we had. Orgeron was spending a lot of time with him. He was loving what he was seeing from TK McClendon. He was completely adjusting to that switch beautifully. He actually wanted it. He actually kind of asked for it. If you're going to do this later in the season, just do it now. I want to make that switch. We've got guys like, Shelvin who have returned. We've got guys like Ika who he's here from local Utah, Salt Lake City. We got a bunch of guys: Jacoby and Guillory, Jacqueline Roy, Philip Webb. Those are a bunch of freshmen. Those last three names: Guillory, Webb, and Roy. We'll see if they put in the work in the offseason, and we just frankly don't know how football players will react, especially defensive linemen, where it's bloody, it's physical, it's a bloodbath in the trenches every time. So we don't know how they're going to react once this is all over without those non-contact practices. Or, we're not sure how many they'll be able to have. If they are able to have some, I think they'll probably be fine. If they're not, we'll just have to see. But we've got a bunch of deep bodies on that defensive line. Shelvin is brilliant in the middle. And Glenn Logan, he's another returner from last year's team that I expect a lot from Glenn Logan. I expect him to be a monster this year. He was starting to be really disruptive in the last few games of the season on that national title run. And he didn't really get too many stats, but he was constantly just bull rushing the quarterback, just affecting everything that he could. And he had kind of had like a slow season at first and was injured and little things like that, but he definitely picked it up in the last few games and when it mattered, Glenn Logan. And I expect him to be great in the 4-3, especially. It's gonna suit his attributes a lot better than the 3-4. But I'm really excited to see Philip Webb on the defensive line. This guy is so tall and lengthy. He's going to be very disruptive. Length on the defensive line is a very underrated but very extremely effective tool. And you saw it with Derek Brown in Auburn against Joe Burrow this last season. Derek Brown, he was using that length and that size, putting those arms up, and it affected probably half of the passes Joe Burrow threw in that game. So I like the options on the defensive line. I'd like to see what happens, but I'd say probably about 4 out of 5 right now.
So Philip Webb has just signed in this most recent 2020 class, 4th-rated outside linebacker out of Georgia, 7th-rated player in the state out of Buford, Georgia. Again, a very lofty ranking overall, number 56 in the nation, 56th-rated player in the nation, regardless of position, number 4 outside linebacker, and may make an impact here in 2020. LSU Odyssey. Give it a shot. What do we have there currently, Lon?
On LSUodyssey.com, we just did a piece on JABRIL COX. It goes in depth on what he did at North Dakota State, how he's had 50 different schools go after him. We did a piece on his recruitment as well, Bill Bush and his Polynesian connections from his time here in Utah, where he was at Utah State. That actually helped big time in his recruitment. JABRIL COX's mom is Polynesian, and seeing Bill Bush was able to impress her in that recruitment. We also got a retrospective. We've got the top 10 Tigers of 2019. We've been just unrolling this list. We just undid number 7 on Grant Delpit, and it's been interesting going through all the film once again. I mean, I was watching the games anyway because of just what's been going on, but just watching the film again on some of these players, it's unbelievable just what the 2019 season really was and what it really meant and what it still means. And it's even hard for me to process, and I've probably written thousands of pages on the subject. It's just the most brilliant season I've ever seen from any team in any sport, and made you really proud to be an LSU fan. It felt like this was, it made every college football fan on the planet, I think, a little bit jealous, a little bit envious. Like, that's the team you wanted the definitive team for your team to be. Have that gunslinging quarterback, have that defense that showed up when it mattered, have that offense that just made it a nonstop entertaining track meet. I mean, we were spoiled last year. And we'll take what comes from now, but Coach O's our guy. We're going to follow him into the dark. And hopefully we kick some coronavirus ass coming up here.
This is the most amazing season ever turned on by any team that you've ever seen in any sport.
Absolutely. I just pedal to the metal the whole time. 15-0, second team ever to do that. I mean, the teams we beat, how we beat them, it was just so satisfying. I mean, people can argue whatever they want, but for me, it doesn't get any better.
So, again, you're unveiling at LSU Odyssey your top 10 players of 2019 for LSU. You've unveiled number 7. Yep. I'm not going to say it, but I could definitely make a stab at number 1. I could probably go out on a limb and possibly give it a shot to number 1. What we would like to have everybody do down in the comments section is actually take a shot at number 2. Down in the comment section, everybody, give your guess as to what LSU Odyssey is going to unveil as the second greatest season by an LSU player in 2019.
Our list is already done. It's already completed. We're just filling in the lines. So I would love to see what people think of number 2, because it's firm and confirmed in my mind, but there'll be a lot of different opinions. It'll be interesting. LSUodyssey.com. Join us, baby.
All right, Lon. Thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. Go Tigers.